Good morning, my most amazing artist, and welcome back to Art with Miss Yeazle. So today we are going to start talking about the winter season. We know that it's winter because it starts to get cold outside and sometimes there's a chance of snow. So we are going to think about things that are related to winter, and I'm going to let you listen to a story. It is called Snowman at Night. And the reason I like this story is because somebody used their imagination to dream about what the snowman might do if they came alive at nighttime. And that's kind of a cool thing to think about. So we know that that is somebody using their imagination because snowmen are not alive. That's right. Except Frosty, of course, right? Anyway, we're not going to relate snow with Christmas because Christmas season is something totally different. It does happen in the winter, but it is not the only thing that happens in winter. What are some awesome things that you like to do when you go outside and play in the snow? We like to make snow angels, maybe, or snowmen. Did you know that when you create a snowman outside, you are actually creating art because you are using your imagination to create something. You are using materials that are from the earth to create something, and that something is not like a drawing, which is flat. It is something that is three-dimensional. It has form, we say in art. So, what forms are they called when they look like a ball? Starts with an S. Did you say sphere? Sphere is a kind of a hard word to say. It has an SPH at the beginning, but that sound says sphere, and it sounds like it has an F instead of a PH. Sphere is another word for a ball or something that is rounded and three-dimensional. A circle's flat, but a sphere is three-dimensional. So we are going to think about that when we're drawing today. We're going to draw after we hear the cool story called Snowman at Night. So are we learning about today? Well, let's review. What did I talk to you about the last time you watched a video? I hope you watched a video of something called art, optical illusions. Optical illusions trick our eye and make us think that we're seeing something that's not really there, like our picture is actually moving. So optical illusions are a way artists trick people's eye into thinking that things are actually have movement or they have form. So we're going to talk about that kind of look today because when you try to draw something three-dimensional, you have to use some artist tricks also. So you have to use some artist tricks called shading and shadowing, and you have to add lots of details so people know exactly what you're trying to draw. Can't just draw circles because then it doesn't look like the real thing, does it? So I am learning to draw using shapes, details, and something called shading or shadows. So when we put shadows and shading on a circle, it makes it look 3D. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. You can do that with color or you can do that with when you're drawing with pencil. I'm going to show you how to do it with color. So, are you ready? I can't wait to hear this cool story. Let's see. So these are some snowmen drawn by some, I believe these were kindergartners, but they are so cute. They're kind of remind me of the ones in the story. So let's listen to the story called Snowmen at Night.
Have you ever wondered what snowmen do at night? Today's book might show you just what frosty adventures take place after dark. Don't forget to look for the hidden shapes painted in the wintertime scenes. See if you can find a cat,
Cat?
a rabbit,
A
a
rabbit,
Santa face, and a
Santa face.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
We're looking for 4 things. I can't wait to find them.
Snowman at Night, written by Carolyn Boehner, illustrated by Mark Boehner.
Illustrated means he drew the
One
pictures.
wintry day, I made a snowman, very round and tall. The next day when I saw him, he was not the same at all. His hat had slipped, his arms drooped down. He really looked a fright. It made me start to wonder, what do snowmen do at night?
Ooh, what do they do at night?
I think that snowmen start to slide when it gets really dark, off the lawn and down the street, right into the park.
They're going to go play, aren't they, at the park?
They gather in a circle while they wait for all the others, sipping cups of ice-cold cocoa made by snowman mothers.
They can't do hot cocoa, can they? They'll melt.
Then the snowman games begin. They line up in their places, each one anxious for his turn in the snowman races. After everyone has had a chance at racing once or twice, they go on over to the pond to do skating tricks on ice.
Ooh, I bet they're good at it, because they can just slide.
Sometimes they start giggling, and then they act like clowns. They bump into each other till they all fall down.
Hope they don't fall apart.
They gather up their snowballs, the pitcher takes his aim, and underneath the moonlit sky they play a baseball game.
A snowball game, not a baseball game.
No one knows just how it started, but soon it's quite a sight, with snowmen throwing snowballs in the world's best snowball fight.
Ooh, they're going sledding.
Then it's time for sledding. It's a wild ride down the hill.
Look at their faces. Are they having fun?
Yell. This is by far the snowman's biggest thrill. Finally, they're tuckered out and getting sleepy, so they slowly gather up their things and one by one they go. So if your snowman's grin is crooked or he's lost a little height, you'll know he's just been doing what snowmen do at night.
They're out having fun, aren't they? I didn't see the cat. Did you find the cat? Did you find the Santa face? Did you find the T-Rex? I'd have to watch it again to see all of those things. I didn't see it. I was enjoying the book. The end. Well, all I can say is they had a lot of fun playing at nighttime, didn't they? Now let's go back and look at those pictures of snowmen, because guess what? You are going to get to draw your very own snowman at night. And we're going to put shadows and shading so that you can see how round and fluffy he is, made out of snow. And it's going to make people think that it's three-dimensional, because you're going to draw it with lots of details and shadows and shading. So you need a piece of paper and a pencil. You can try to find some crayons. Hopefully you have a black, because we're really going to need the black crayon. If you have markers, you could get your black marker out, and that would work also. But we're going to pretend that everybody doesn't have everything, and I'm going to say, do everything with crayon. I'm going to show you everything with crayon because you can make an awesome picture with just crayons and pencils. So if you want to do marker, that's fine too. But we're going to try to imitate this look of blue with just the crayon instead of, I think these boys and girls use chalk. I can't wait to use chalk with you all. It's so much fun to play with and to draw with. I know you've probably used chalk on the sidewalk, but maybe not in your artwork on paper. That is pretty cool. So I can't wait to try that when we come back to school. But for now, we're going to use crayon and pencil. So find paper, find pencil, find some crayons. And if you want, you can bring an eraser. Get all your materials together, meet me back here, and I'm going to show you how to draw your 3D snowman. So I hope you have your pencil, paper, and some crayons or markers or something to color with. We're going to start with pencil, of course, because we can always erase pencil if we make a mistake. So I'm going to turn my paper actually this way because I want to add some other details around the snowman drawing so that it makes it a little bit nicer picture than just drawing a simple snowman. Okay, we can draw a snowman, but then we have all this blank space that we want to take up. So this is going to be a snowman, so it's outside, which we call a picture of something that's outside of a landscape. So if we start with some land, and then I'm going to draw really, really super light because we want to be able to erase if we need to. If you draw super dark and you really are really pressing down really hard on your pencil, it's really hard to erase. So if we're going to draw a snowman in this landscape, we would start with the bottom and where is it sitting on the page. When I draw anything, I always leave a little bit of space at the bottom so that it's not going off the page. It just looks better that way. Now we see there's lines in our circle, and we can go back and erase that after we're finished, but we don't want to erase the circle, okay? We want him to look like he's a solid snowman, not a see-through snowman. So this circle is actually going to start at the second one, and then it's going to make it look like it's overlapping a little bit, okay? Because they're stacked on top of each other, right? And we don't want space between them, of course, because that would look like he is in pieces, like somebody broke him into pieces. So we've got our 3 circles. Now, snowmen are actually sculptures. If you think about it, you're creating a sculpture out of snow. So when you take the snow, you are forming it into, what's that word for the things that are round that are like a ball? The word for it is a sphere, and we call those forms in art. A sphere is a form that is rounded. So how do we make it look that way when we're drawing? That's what we're going to talk about today. So instead of having a circle at the top, we're going to have his hat cover up a little bit of his head. So it looks like it's sitting on top of his head and not just like perched up on the edge. So I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to draw a line right here. That line shows that the hat is going behind his head. Okay. So what kind of a hat is he going to wear? Well, that's not very even. Okay. So I'm going to make mine wear a hat like that with a band around it. Okay. He can have any kind of hat. He can have a top hat. He can have a winter hat, like a toboggan that like you wear out in the snow. Whatever you want. So he has some round something for eyes. What would you put for snowman eyes? Do you use buttons? Do you use rocks? And then a carrot nose. And do you know that the carrot nose is not just a triangle, it's a cone shape. So I'm going to curve that line right there to make it look like a long cone coming out from his face. That's another way to create something that's three-dimensional. So we've got a sphere, and then we had a cone coming out, which is the... Now those snowmen in that book that I showed you was called Snowman at Night, and they look like they had been up to something because they were a little bit melted. And we know that when snow gets warm, it melts. So that's probably why those snowmen were sagging in the story. But somebody used their imagination and imagined that those snowmen were out there having a good old time in the snow. And if you looked closely, you were supposed to find some images in the snow. Miss Yazel never found them. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look at the story again. I hope you're drawing along with me. I've drawn some stick arms coming out, and I drew a little curved line there, so it looks like the stick is coming out of the snowman, okay? So little tricks that make it look not so flat. So you can have however many buttons you want, but here at the bottom, we're going to just make a line for the snow because he's sitting on top of the snow, so you probably wouldn't see that curved edge at the bottom. Otherwise, he'd look like he would just roll away. We want him to look like he's sitting firmly on that snow. So we've got lots of details, including, let's do a scarf. I'm going to go back and try to erase a little bit of that, and then have the scarf come down in front. Okay, pretty cool, huh? So is it starting to look more round and 3D? So when we use color, it's going to look even better. Now, snowmen are white, right? So we're not going to add any white to this because it's already white, but we've got to add all the colors for the details that are in the picture. So, of course, his carrot nose. So you need to color his carrot nose. And maybe we used blue buttons for eyes. So I'm going to color his eyes blue, like they're blue buttons. And then the old-fashioned way of making a snowman is they would have little lumps of coal for the eyes and the nose and the buttons. But today we don't have coal around handy, so we use whatever we can find around our house, don't we? At least I did when I was little. We didn't have lumps of coal either. So, how about, and remember, we're not decorating for Christmas, because Christmas is over, right? But we could still make snowmen because it's still winter time. So don't forget to add lots of color to this. Maybe a little red. And I am not staying in the lines with this crayon because it is super hard to use. And if we color a little bit darker in there, underneath, you could actually go back and outline if you make a mistake and cover it up like I'm doing. Okay, so snowman, when they cast shadows, it's kind of a grayish color, so you could find a gray crayon, or you can find a blue crayon, because sometimes the light hits it at night and it kind of looks bluish. So I'm going to use gray for the shadow on the ground down here, because we were talking about snowmen at night, so he would be casting a shadow on the ground. You would also see some shadows
we've got a cast shadow, and then we've got shadows around the edges of the object when the light's not hitting it, right? So I'm just coloring super light all around the edges, but I'm not going to go all the way around. Well, maybe just lightly around here, but darker at the bottom. Don't color the whole thing in. Okay, we've got some shadows and shading going on. See if you can just add a little bit of shadows and shading. Just a little to make him stand out. We're not going to get too fancy here. Just a little bit. So we can see him up against that white background now, can't we? Now, see, this a daytime snowman? Or is it like the story that I showed you where the snowman was playing around at nighttime? So you decide, where do you want your snowman to be? Is it daytime? Oops, that marker does not work. I'm going to use a marker because I cannot find a brown crayon. And I'm going to color in my branches that were used for his arms. The background, I could do some more gray, or you could do some of those blue-ish hot shadows on the snow. Do both. So he looks like he's sitting on something now, doesn't he? Now that we have some color in there to see the shadows and the shading on the snow, I'm just coloring super light with this blue crayon. I'm going to try to do some gray up here because then the sky's got to be a different color, right? So before I get too much done back here, if we were trying to create the look of something three-dimensional, we could actually draw other details in the picture, like maybe there's a snowman really far back in the picture. And you see how I drew him small on that back line? That makes him look like he's far away from this snowman. This one's close to us in the foreground, and that one is in the background. So those are two words we talk about when we talk about a landscape. And I know that we did a landscape while you were here at school. Shazel showed you how to draw a landscape, and we drew mountains and grass and I think a road or a river. We did like a line landscape. Well, this is a snowy winter landscape. So what color would the sky be? If it's snowing, it's going to be like a grayish color. If it's nighttime, it's going to be a darker black or blue or a dark gray. So if it's daytime, then you're going to use your blue crayon to color the sky. So how do we do that really fast? Here's a trick. So since my gray crayon is broken anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of my gray crayon and I'm going to lay it on its side. And I'm going to rub it back and forth to make kind of a grayish sky. And I'm going to go around my snowman very carefully so that I do not cover him up with all that gray. And we could do the same thing with a blue crayon or a black crayon, whatever color you want the sky to be. Then you can rub the sky. It takes so much less time to do that than if we tried to color it, and you don't see all those lines too, because when you color back and forth, you see lots of lines, don't you? So I would probably go back and add some blue to that sky because it's just too gray looking. I would add a little bit of blue. And if you're coloring back and forth to do your sky, that's fine too, but make sure that you're not coloring heavy and dark. because it is a sky. So, red hat. Darker on that side, lighter on this side. See how I changed the color of the hat? I colored really heavy and then I colored really light. So think about how you color heavy and light when you're drawing too. That makes your picture even better. Okay, what do you think? Pretty cool snowman, huh? Okay, I hope you had fun creating your snowman and you tried to create some shading and shadows on your snowman. I hope you added some details to make him really cool and have some personality and be very unique just like you. I can't wait to see your snowmans. Happy creating.